It's the Forever Knight-athon. We're recapping and reviewing every single episode of Season 1 of the 1990s Canadian police procedural about a vampire detective taking a bite out of crime. Episode 7, False Witness, opens with Nick and the Skankster monitoring a sting operation, where their rat is doing a pretty crummy job of getting the other guy to talk.
Oh yeah? Sure reminds me a little of Betty Gilroy.
How about you telling me why we're all of a sudden discussing Betty Gilroy? She's a dead issue.
Turns out this jabroni is a sex trafficker or murdered one of the girls he trafficked or something like that. I'm not sure, they're not real clear about it. High stakes stuff. Pretty important stuff. Rizzo blows it though, so Nick has to vamp around town to save his ass. Only he's too late, and the guy gets totally all shot to death right before Nick shows up. Enraged, Nick claims to have witnessed the murder even though he didn't. This bozo is going down for a long time, unless, hypothetically, the strongest bit of evidence they had was eyewitness testimony, and it later emerged that said eyewitness testimony was falsified. So they looked through his operation and talked to one of the doms that works with him, and she's all weird about it, you know, like how dominatrices, how they're always weird on TV. They're always like weird and alienating in a suggestive but not explicit way, and completely unable to break character even when interviewed by the fucking homicide department.
Excuse me, miss.
It's Mistress Tamara.
You know, it's just people do that for sex reasons, right? Like, that's just not, they're not like that all the time. Back at the precinct, everyone's throwing a party for Nick and what a good cop he is. How he did good cop work back there. There's cakes and there's pies, and everyone's so proud of him for being such a good cop. And Natalie's like, hey, yo, Nick, great job. Just want to dot my I's and cross my T's here. You did actually see the murder, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, no, yeah, I think so, yeah. And she's like, because if you didn't, that'd be perjury. And he's like, yeah, no, it would be perjury, that's true. But it would be a cool perjury, though, because, like, it would be a perjury that convicted a guy who sucks. So you can see the moral dilemma Nick is in right now. Should he perjure himself to testify against Mr. Crime Man, or risk him walking away scot-free from the murder scene of the police informant wearing a wire that they have a recording of him struggling with? Nope, can't risk that. Gotta lie on the stand, I guess. He asks Skanky, and Skanky's like, yeah, dude, lie. It's good that cops lie. We should get to do it when we need to.
The dishonorable opposition does it. Sometimes we gotta do it too. It's not as if there's any question that the bad guy murdered the victim, right? So what's the big deal?
He tells a phony story to the Crown prosecutor, and then he has to appear in court in the daytime, gasp shock. There's no getting out of this one. What are you gonna do, Nick? Well, he just has him close the blinds. The excuse that he's given this whole time is that he's allergic to sunlight, which is a real medical condition, and one any courtroom would need to accommodate thanks to the Canadian Disability Act. Nick thinks back to the last time he testified at the stand in a murder trial on the foggy streets of London town. See, Jeanette killed a lady, and this other guy took the fall for it, and Nick was like super concerned about this. Weird moral barometer, Nick. You're a murderer at this point, but framing people for murder, that's too far. Sadly, we don't get a Nick wig, but we do get a little top hat on LaCroix. Skanky is having a little think about this. He's sitting there doing some stinking thinking. He wonders why cops aren't trusted by people, and instead of reasoning out that cops are invasive armed forces whose function is to uphold and maintain the status quo, serving the interests of the wealthy and privileged at the expense of the very communities they claim to serve and protect, he instead places the problem on bad PR. See, the cops need more heroes.
We need more heroes, that's the problem. Do me two favors, Skanky.
Sure.
Go get some sleep. And on your way, don't do anything heroic, okay?
To that end, he encourages Nick to lie more.
If it takes you to tell a little white lie so we can look like heroes, then do it. You can hit the home run, and we can win the game.
Because it's actually in the public interest that he lie, you see. It's the morally correct thing to do, he thinks. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's convenient for them. It's just the right thing to do for the world. Skanky's concern is that people don't trust the police. And his solution to that problem is for cops to be less honest. And I feel like, and this is just me personally, I feel like lying is actually a sign that someone cannot be trusted. It's court time, baby, donk donk. Nick gets sworn in the Bible. Uh-oh, oops, hurts his hand. The defense attorney is like, hey, covering the distance you said you covered in your testimony is impossible.
I have here a deposition from a decathlete I hired to reenact your heroics.
It took him 4 minutes. According to your testimony and the records of the conversation between Mr. Kozak and Pete Farber, you arrived in just over 2 minutes.
Nick's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty fast. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not a vampire, if that's what you're implying. And the attorney's like, damn, okay, well, it was worth a shot. One more question, though. You did really see my client shoot that guy, right? Nick's like, maybe, I don't know. No, I didn't. So we gotta let the guy go. You gotta let him go immediately. The trial is over. The court is forced to dismiss the case just like that. Another crime guy back on the street. Now everyone's mad at Nick. He's a bad cop now because he didn't lie on the stand to convict a man he didn't know for sure to be guilty.
I didn't see the gun go off.
Then why didn't you tell everybody you did?
Is that the question, Captain? Because I get the feeling that the real question is, why didn't I stick to the lie?
Oh, Nick, you can't high road him on this one. Why are there just no consequences for lying in your deposition? Lying and then later saying for the record while under oath, yes, I lied to the Crown prosecutor? Everyone hates Nick now, just like that time he tried to testify and defend an innocent man in Jack the Ripper times. Didn't matter then, doesn't matter now. Nick has a plan to turn around his reputation. All he needs is a warrant, but there's no way he's gonna get a warrant after he publicly lied to frame a man for murder. But he doesn't need a warrant to go after crime, man. He wants to investigate the dominatrix, who is not the subject of a criminal investigation. It seems like it should be harder, if anything, to get a warrant to investigate her. Luckily, the moment he arrives, Crime Man and the dominatrix are already in the middle of a sex conversation about how he definitely killed the informant and how she ordered him to do it and the girl he killed too. And also, she holds up the tape that she has of him killing the girl that she has, and she holds it up right then and talks about it real loud about having this tape. What luck! Now, you're probably wondering why the dominatrix did this. Nick swoops in and Crime pulls a gun and pumps him full of lead. Nick is forced to pursue, and I genuinely think this shot is pretty cool. But you know what's not cool? This shot. And he's like, hey, what gives? This is a good gun. This is one of my favorite guns. It should have killed you when I shot you. And Nick's like, yeah, tell it to the judge, pal. You know, you get it? Because now that guy can't tell the truth in court. So I guess the moral of the story is you don't have to tell the truth in court. It's best to, I guess, but you don't have to, is the moral here, I guess. Like, Nick had to break that guy out in ye olden times, even though he told the truth in court then. So it doesn't really seem helpful. I hate to keep rewriting these episodes, but like, instead of Nick not wanting to lie because the guy might be innocent, wouldn't it be better if he knew for a fact that the guy were guilty, but he couldn't prove it? So he felt like he had to lie to secure the conviction. Doesn't that seem like more of a genuine moral dilemma? Maybe even have that lie exposed, poisoning what otherwise would have been a solid case. And then the lesson might be that it's quite bad for you to perjure yourself, especially if you're a police officer, even if you think you have a really good reason to do it. It doesn't look great that Nick seems to be the only cop in Toronto that doesn't think you should lie on the stand. Everyone else thinks it's cool and sexy to lie in court. Not Nick, though. And sure, that's realistic. Actual cops lie like most people breathe, but like, these are the good guys of your television show, man. Are we supposed to like them or not? And I really hope it doesn't become a running theme that evil women convince men to murder by being sexy at them. This is the second instance in so many episodes of a wicked temptress leading men to kill for her for no real discernible reason other than being generally an evil person. And I might sound like I didn't like this episode, but that's far from the case because look at the little top hat Lacroix's wearing. It's a good episode because of the hat. And I guess I agree that it's okay for cops to lie in court. Sure, I guess. I think cops should have unchecked power now because of that hat. It's a good hat. Next week, Nick investigates a murder in Chinatown. And it's exactly what you'd expect from a TV show in the 90s. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. And I'd like to thank the people who will forever be my knights over at patreon.com/scaredycats. In particular, I'd like to thank Verbena, Cooper Holmes, Joe McClory, Liz Widow, Maston Ginger, James Garford, C.H. Phillips, Gideon, Charlotte Hollingsworth, Devin Kaler, Spooky Heather Sylvia, and definitely Todd. And I
Bobby Duke, the star of the channel, would like to thank the following people who's also the stars of the channel on account of their support on patreon.com/scarycats. We got Jay Torney, Schadenfraulein, Lanston, Rachel Rat, Kato Moore, Carpad, Josh Manez, Hyla Tracy, Louisa Prito, and Jesse. Well, can you believe the shenanigans Nick Knight and his pals got up to in this one? Hey, we're gonna keep going all January, baby. You wanna get these videos a day early? Go on over to Patreon. Oh, wait. You can just wait. I mean, how bad do you need it,